Duplum, as you know, it means, an historical, has an historical meaning, which is adding a voice to a pre-existing one. But also means several other things that can explain what I was doing, which means duplum also contains semantically another word, which is to duplicum from the Latin word, and to duplicate somehow. And between choosing duet or such a word that actually is conveying multiple meanings, I think that the second one, and it was actually a better choice because it gives you an idea of a duplicity of an interaction of two elements. They're actually pretty much the same, and pretty much what I wanted to explain with the title. The sort of connection with the past, but at the same time a new way of interpreting by adding other connotations. I don't know why, but every time we write for two instruments, there's always a necessity not to write difficult for those two instruments. In the history, to think about any composer wrote for the same instrument and calling them duets, there's always this idea of writing music that is not virtuosic, because it's idea of already that being together is something that will create some problems in the performance. I wanted to exaggerate that by writing something that was pretty much a piece for a virtuoso, a single instrument, a single player, and then duplicating the situation. If you don't use a system where there is one side being predominant on the other one, then you have to come up with a situation where actually there is a balance of situations, which means that you need to figure out geometrically how things will work, which means that sometimes the two performers will actually play exactly the same thing, exactly in the same way. Other times they will start actually going out of phase and creating the idea of a polyphony, of a polyphonic way of writing music, where in the end it's just a way of geometrically seeing things out of phase, not exactly on the same moment. And of course, and also there is also the numerical combination of the three instruments. If you write for a set like that, xylophone, vibraphone, and a glockenspiel, the idea is, of course, what I was doing to keep in mind that the performer can actually play multiple combination of the set, and always in duplicating what the other one was doing. So you will never see in the piece a performer doing and using other instrument while the other one is playing, for example, the vibraphone. There's always an idea of mirroring each other, because I believe in the gesture, and I think visually it's very interesting. It's like playing on a mirror, if you're performing doing exactly what you're doing. And I think that way is aesthetically an idea that I wanted to explore. difficult music because I want to give another time to the performer. You know, there is not a sadistic intention to hurt the performer to do things that are pretty much impossible, which is not the way I write music. I think there are many ways of looking at this problem. What is difficult? You know, you can see and you can explain what is difficult from a composer point of view, from a performer point of view, from a reception point of view. What I hear, and for me, it's what I listen to, and for me, it's difficult. I'd say if I think about something difficult, is our mental image that depicts a situation that is pretty much a paradox between experience and practice, the experience of the practice. And I want to make an example. Supposing that you play all Chopin's kind of music very well, you're a pianist, and I ask you, is it Chopin music difficult? You would say, well, of course it is difficult, but not in a way that will prevent me from playing it, because the experience of the practice, not just on a single piece, but all the plurality of the Chopin's work makes that the practice and experience a circular process. The more you practice, the more you experience playing Chopin and so on. So I would say the idea of what is difficult is not it doesn't exist anymore. You sort of solve the paradox. But if I ask you now, what about playing a piece by Stockhausen, and you've never seen a piece by Stockhausen, you probably think that playing Stockhausen and having played Chopin before will allow you to be able to deal with the score, because you have enough technique to deal with that. But the problem is that there is a point in Stockhausen music that is not covered by the technique of playing Chopin. So you're coming from the experience of a practice, and you stop, and you have to decide what to do, because in front of you you have a new experience to deal with, and you don't have the practice of that experience. You don't have the experience, and you don't have the practice.